So I'm going to start with a little story for you guys. So every Wednesday at 6 p.m., 1,500 people descend on New York's Washington Square Gardens. They're there for the TikTok viral Lunge Run Club. So you can see it on the screen there. Singles wear black, while the few people there in relationships, usually dragged along by an anxious single friend, they wear color. Why am I telling you this? Fitness and the fitness industry as we know it has changed. Whilst previous generations found their vice and social scene in drinking and pub culture, fitness culture is the vice and social scene of the next generation. As operators, we're left with a choice. Innovate and ride the wave of growth in a booming industry, or stay still and die the slow death. Something to think about. Maybe a little bit of a dark start, but something to think about nonetheless. So, my name's Toby. Today I'm joining you from a couple of places. So firstly, from Ashbourne Membership Management. So some of you might have heard of Ashbourne. We work with over 1,000 gyms in the UK and Ireland. We look after payment collections and management software, turnstile installations for these clubs. Our systems encompass everything from sales and marketing tools to day-to-day management systems, so your front desk software, your analytical software at a management point of view, and then also that in-house turnstile team. So we're a one-stop solution for our customers, and that's something that really sets us apart from our competition. Alongside that, we, in 2019, took on the Fit Club Redditch, which is a 20,000 square foot facility located in Redditch, about 30 minutes from here. Standard club, commercial club. We've got 4 studios, we've got a big gym space, over 2,000 members, up from 400 when we took over. And essentially what we do with the Fit Club is we test all of our Ashbourne products, all of our new systems, marketing ideas, partner systems, everything like that. We test it in the Fit Club so that we can give our customers the best possible service and the best possible ideas for their businesses. Essentially, it says on screen there, we're empowering independent fitness facilities, and that's exactly what today is about. So this whole conference, we're looking to give you ideas. We're looking to give you the tools so you can make positive change in your business. So the fitness facility scorecard, aligning what matters with how to act. It's a little bit misleading because I'm not going to give you the tools. You have to do that yourself. You have to use your own intuition. But what we are going to look at is a few kind of models for how we can bring about change in our facility. So first up, the balanced scorecard. So the balanced scorecard is this 4-step model, and don't worry about taking pictures, you'll get them all at the end. Loads of data on screen, and you'll get it all at the end, so don't worry about digesting it too quickly. But the balanced scorecard is something that kind of attacks this idea that we only as facilities look at the financial metrics when analyzing our business. And the theory is saying that actually it's about a lot more than that, right? And when things aren't going so well financially, are there areas to do with customer satisfaction, to do with our internal processes, to do with learning and growth that we can actually leverage to improve our financial performance or vice versa. So on screen there, you've got a few KPI examples of how you might track this. When we put this into practice in a real gym, you get something like this. Okay, so this is what I meant by a lot of data on screen to digest, and obviously please don't try and digest it now because you'll definitely struggle. But this is real data from a real gym. Redditch guys, this isn't the Fit Club. I know what you're thinking. You can't use this. But this is real data from a real gym. And as you can see, they're tracking a number of different strategic goals alongside these KPIs. And it builds up a picture at a glance. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. So a couple of things to point out that you may recognize from your own club. Squeeze in revenue. So declining revenues are becoming really common at the moment. We're seeing this across a lot of our gym network. And that's because of increasing competition, such a variety of fitness services being available. We're also seeing people experiencing a squeeze. So return on capital employed, the third line down there, you can see how that's gradually decreased over the last 2 years. And that's with costs coming up while that revenue is slowing down with competition and people are feeling that squeeze. And we're not reacting with price rises and new products quickly enough to bring up that revenue. But this is where the balanced scorecard earns its corn, because there's other things here that are extremely popular that we can leverage to try and improve those other areas. Things like net promoter score and the customer side of things. This gym is doing incredibly well in terms of customer feedback. The customers that are staying with them are experiencing really high level and they can utilize that. internal processes performing really well, and learning and growth opportunities are good. They're holding on to team members. They're saving money on the back end in training and those kinds of things. So today, I want to look at these 4 different areas: financial, customer, internal, and learning and growth, and try to give you a few ideas for your own club. So firstly, process management. So processes underpin everything that we do as gym owners, right? So all of those lines on the balance scorecard essentially represents a process. Whether you're trying to get more bums on seats in classes, whether you're trying to get your numbers up in terms of sales, everything that we're doing is a process. And this is what I want you to think about today, is how can we manage things better by kind of standardizing our processes. So firstly, defining what it is that we're trying to do. So the example I just gave, more bums on seats in classes. That's the definition. So that's what we want to do with this process. How can we measure that? Capacity utilization. So we can look at the rate of attendance in a class versus the capacity of the class. Simple. And then in analysis, so have we had this information for a long time? And if so, can we see trends, seasonal trends perhaps, or trends where we've changed things about the class straight off the bat? Can we see things that might help us improve that process? So improve the capacity utilization in our classes. And then in controlling that, we're constantly looking at the information and feeding into each stage of this process. So do we need to adjust the definition of what we're trying to achieve slightly? Do we need to adjust the measurement? Perhaps classes across the board are looking better, but certain classes not doing so well. Maybe spin's not performing. Then maybe we need to adjust this. So it's a system for kind of reviewing our processes and standardizing things. I do tend to speak a little bit quick at times. Okay, so if we put this into practice with the Fit Club Redditch, we can have a look at lost sales. So lost sales is a process that we've kind of honed over the last few years, and we've got it to a really, really good level, and it's something that we do very well. We're not the most easy to find facility, okay? We're a first floor gym, small entrance, huge upstairs, 20,000 square foot, like I say, often likened to a TARDIS. You have to pass a Pure Gym on the way to get to our car park. So what this means is, for us, every single lead that comes into the gym, every single person that's interested in joining, we have to sweat that lead. We have to really make sure that they sign up, and we have to get that lost sales rate to the minimum that it can be. And that's what you can see on the screen there. That's a lead sweating. Then measurement, how can we measure it? So I see you nodding. Okay, that makes sense. Lost sales ratio. So inbound leads over lost sales, that's how we're going to measure it, very simple. And then on analysis, so I'm squeezing kind of a few years worth of development into 30 seconds here. But on analysis, we can look at things like having a central system for managing the leads. So in years gone by, there's been a lot of leakage. People coming into the gym, not leaving their details for whatever reason, whether that's a scrap of paper being used or a conversation being had on the fly or whatever it might be. Data leakage is a big issue for this process. The other thing is our team, they work on the front desk. A lot of the time we're running a very lean system. So you might have one person managing this entire massive facility. And with that, they've obviously got loads of other things to do other than sell memberships. But with this, selling memberships is really important, right? So we weren't treating our team like a sales team, okay? They weren't getting the support that they need. And that's another thing that on analysis, we needed to improve. So how did we do that? So firstly, bringing in that central system, all leads, no matter where they come from, come into this hub. So that's our prospect management system. Wherever they come from, they come into the hub, be it an online inquiry, someone in person. If they sign up for a day pass, we need to capture that lead. If they come for a tour, they don't sign up, we need to capture that lead, okay? So that central system is crucial. The second thing we did was we started to treat our team like a sales team, okay? So they're a sales team within our front desk team. We needed to treat them as such. So we brought in a system that allows us to do that. So all of our team wear these smart name tags, right? So the smart name tag is essentially an NFC card printed as a name tag. NFC is near field communication, which is what you use in a bank card. To that card, you can attach links, okay? A number of links. And what we have is we have a sign-up link. So if someone's interested in signing up, they'll tap that link. If someone's comes in on a day pass, we don't want them to leave without giving their details, so they use that link. If someone comes in on a tour, then they use that link, right? So the member of staff, when they have this person, they tap it on their phone, brings up the leads, and we get that data there and then. It's very simple for the staff member to manage, and it can be done on the fly, which is how these things happen, as we know. Why this is good is it means that we can have a commission structure in place. Okay, so all of our staff are encouraged to, upsell memberships. They're earning commission on the amount of memberships they sell, the extent of their upsells. And we can also, on a management point of view, we can track performance, see how the guys are doing, and encourage people who are maybe not looking so good on their sales figures, just as you would with a sales team. The other thing that we can do with this, which is really good, is we can have a high level of customization. So because the links on this card are attributed to the staff member, as soon as that person leaves, they're receiving targeted communications from that staff member, right? So if they've just had Drew, for example, in club, they're getting emails from Drew saying, I teach a martial arts class on Tuesday. Would you like to come and try it out before you sign up, or whatever it might be? We're automatically adding customization to our service, which is hugely powerful. And then in the control phase, we're constantly reviewing this and looking at what we can change and what we can improve about this process. Okay, so as we move down the balanced scorecard, we hit the learning and growth section. So the top left, you can see a statistic on estimated staff turnover in the fitness industry 2022 to 2023 at 33%, which is really high. And it will come as a surprise to probably none of you that staff turnover in the fitness industry is incredibly high. People come and go like ships in the night. People come and go like ships in the night. Sometimes. This doesn't happen to all gyms. I should say that. This doesn't happen to all gyms, but it's extremely common, okay? We see a lot of personal trainers come off the back of their qualification, and they're gone within 6 months, they're gone within 2 years. There's no reason for that to happen. Like I say, it doesn't happen to all gyms, and so it's definitely avoidable. If we look at the yellow and the orange statistics there, 86% of workers recognize the importance of continuously learning new skills to advance their careers, while 94% of workers are more likely to stay at a company that invests in their learning and development. Surprise of the century, if you invest in your staff, if you give them these learning and growth opportunities, they're going to stay longer, they're going to work harder, you're going to get more out of them, okay? So replacing staff is expensive, retraining staff is expensive, so what can we do? Well, I know that you guys aren't looking for more ways to spend your money, you're not looking for more ways to spend your time, so what can we do that doesn't kind of draw too much on those precious resources? Well, firstly, why don't we look at responsibility, right? All of you have responsibility in droves. You've got loads of the stuff. You could really part ways with some of that responsibility. Is there an option to potentially share that with the team? Okay, a little bit of training goes a long way. You might save time in the long run. Are those responsibility opportunities there for your team as well? Can they share some of that with their team and do something which is really valuable, which is avoid people being indispensable? Avoid people being indispensable, okay? So having people who are indispensable is a massive risk. So can we use these upskilling opportunities to train them up and avoid kind of when people go away or we lose people, having that risk center? The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is your suppliers. So is there an opportunity to utilize your suppliers more, get some learning and growth opportunities out of them? So at Ashbourne, we do a lot of free training for people who use our services, training on sales, training on process management. Your equipment companies, they're always looking to get more money out of you, and they've probably had a lot of money out of you already. So can you utilize them to get more training for your team, okay? Nutrition companies, often happy to do free supplement drops or whatever it might be to give your team more knowledge on those supplements so that you can, again, sell better, know more, and have a more skilled team. And this is all about creating a team that is an asset to your business, okay? And that's very valuable. The other thing I wanted to mention to you as well is your team want to hear from you. Like once upon a time, a lot of your team had the ambition, once upon a time you had the ambition to own a gym, to own a fitness facility, right? Well, a lot of your team share the same ambition. We see it in our club, we see it in a lot of Ashbourne clubs. A lot of the guys that work for you now will go on to own their own fitness businesses. In fact, one of our biggest customers, they're opening 20 new sites next year, and over half of those sites are being opened by personal trainers that previously worked in their sites. So there's an opportunity there to engage your team by utilizing you and utilizing your business, and you both benefit in the long run. Okay, these are a few of the KPIs that we use at the Fit Club. So firstly, secret shopper score. So this is a covert way of training your team and getting more out of them, and it's something that we use a lot. Essentially, there's two sides of it. So we have a questionnaire that goes to our secret shopper community. They come into the gym, they do something that we've agreed, either signing up or leaving without signing up or whatever it might be. And they answer a number of questions on, firstly, processes, and secondly, our brand. So processes being things like what I just mentioned to you. So are our team filling out the lost sales? Are they giving their details, or are they gathering the members' details in the right way, and things like that. On the brand side, we're looking at, are they receiving the welcome that we want them to receive in line with our brand, okay? So two things that we track on the secret shopper score of a big questionnaire, and that's something that we use a lot, and it generally gives us a good indication of who's performing well, who understands what they're meant to be doing, and who doesn't. Okay, so upskilling rate, and this goes back to something I mentioned a minute ago, which was the ability to make sure your staff aren't becoming indispensable, okay? Are there ways that we can utilize our resources to upskill staff and avoid people becoming indispensable? And then employee turnover. It's expensive to retrain people, it's expensive to get new employees in, so we want to keep them if we can. We actually weight this to favor people who have had more training, so they are weighted heavier on the employee turnover metric. That's something worth thinking about. Obviously, if someone's new to the industry and they leave very quickly, then it's less of an issue, but we don't want to lose people in those management positions. So we've looked at internal processes, we've looked at learning and growth. What about customers? What about the customer satisfaction side of things? So this iceberg kind of works as a metaphor for the more difficult things of a customer-centric strategy to kind of target and affect, right? So a customer-centric culture is undoubtedly the most difficult thing to impact in your business. You can only achieve that by tying together all of the other things that go into great customer service. But once you do achieve that, that's something that you can scale from. That's something truly valuable, okay? That's the message today. Long-term relationships, this is something we're looking at a lot of the Fit Club, and that's trying to get more corporate relationships up and running. It's something that's very difficult to find, and you see a lot of companies popping up that give you access to a lot of corporations because corporate relationships are so difficult to get as an individual facility or an independent facility. So that's something that is again, a long-term high reward scenario. If you can get people on long-term contracts, paying for memberships with your club or memberships for their staff or customers, whatever it is, then that's something very resilient and healthy for your business. Personalized solutions. I touched on personalized solutions just in the lost sales section there, but more and more we're seeing this need to target directly with offers, with ideas, with innovations to people who have kind of engaged with them or are interested in them. The big guys are doing this. They're making very targeted sales drives towards members or people who have engaged with that stuff before. Feedback analysis, we're going to look at in a second. And then service improvements and customer interaction. So this is the low-hanging fruit that all facilities need to be doing. And over time, you build up that customer-centric culture that is so valuable, okay? So service improvements being new bits of kit, light bulbs being fixed, the bread and butter stuff, and customer interactions being those day-to-day interactions with customers that generally we're very good at, but can be quite damaging when we don't achieve. So I mentioned about feedback analysis. So this is what we use at the Fit Club to convert our inbound feedback, so whatever the channel, whether it's over the desk, whether it's an email or whatever it is, it comes through this table and we convert it into a 10-point score to calculate our net promoter score, okay? This is something we use a lot. Net promoter score, for those of you who don't know it or don't use it, puts feedback into a 10-point score, but 9 and 10 are promoters, 7 and 8 are passives, and 0 to 6 are people who would actively not sell your business, they're detractors, okay? The way that we've kind of tweaked this and made it a little bit more modern, and this is something we're putting a lot more resources into now, is that we're actually using it to work out our online trust score. Now, a trust score is what systems like ChatGPT, so online GPTs will use to ascertain whether they would recommend your business to someone who's using ChatGPT or other GPTs as a search engine. Okay, so you guys know, I'm sure some of you are already using ChatGPT as a search engine, but it's becoming more and more common. So what we're doing is we're taking any mention of the Fit Club, wherever it is on the internet, and we're putting it through this system to give it a score, and from that we're working out what our trust score is, okay? And in the long run, it's an investment. We're getting more recommendations through Trustpilot, through ChatGPT. Okay, so we looked at internal processes, we've looked at customers, we've looked at learning and growth. I was saying to the guys how when you export a PowerPoint from Canva, it messes it up sometimes, and it has messed it up a little bit. I thought it hadn't, but there you go. But on screen here, we have a Sankey diagram. Okay, so a Sankey diagram is just showing this real simplified overview of revenue generating activity, cost base, and then overall profit. And I thought this was a really neat way of kind of, from a bird's eye view, looking at your business and looking at potential areas of weakness or potential areas where you can grow and improve things. And I put this into the perspective of the Fit Club. This isn't the Fit Club. This is another gym that I've kind of made up. A healthy gym, I suppose. But if it was the Fit Club, my concerns would be that our membership revenue is huge. Okay, that's our main chunk. And I don't mean huge financially. I mean huge, in terms of how much it makes up of our overall revenue. And then our secondary spend is pretty large as well. That makes up about 10%. And then other than that, there's not a lot in there. Okay, we do have a personal training team. We have 6 PTs. They're paid on a rent basis. Okay, they pay us on a rent basis, which means that we're capped. We can only get to a certain point. They can be doing really well, but we're never going to get more money than that. And so quite quickly, you can make a few assumptions about your business. Okay, we could really improve there. And this is where you can feed that information back into the balanced scorecard and manage everything as a hub. But yeah, it's worth thinking about what your business looks like from this perspective. And again, when new gyms do open nearby, having that real diverse revenue spread is extremely valuable. So I mentioned earlier about corporate deals and the corporate relationships, and that's something we also really want to push because it's that security when times, when things do change in the local area, we're making ourselves more resilient and more liable to impact from others. The Grinch is a bit random, but there's a reason for it. So this is a picture from our Christmas party a few years ago. So we run this Christmas party every year. We do it as a reward for members, essentially. So it brings in a little bit of interest from the local area. But this particular Christmas party, this was the first one we run. We invested a little bit of the money. The Grinch is actually quite expensive to hire, believe it or not. We invested a bit of money, and it performed really badly. We didn't get the crowd and the interest in it that we expected. And what I want to take you through here is a method that we've learned since that's very effective for ruling out marketing as the reason why things don't work. So this is a multi-channel approach to your outreach, and you can use this for anything. So if you're looking to adjust the way that you generate revenue within your club, if you're looking to do things like this, where you're looking to run events and engage with members, this strategy is really useful for making sure that things are getting the outreach that they need and that they deserve, okay? So firstly, at a high level, setting up your campaign. So this is the explanation, this is the offer, this is the thing that you're running. So in this case, it's the Fit Club Christmas party. What are the rules around it? Okay, what is the key information you need to get across to everyone? Does it differ for different groups? So do you have one message that will go out to members? Do you have one message that will go out to your staff? Do you have one message that will go out to potential members? All of these different groups, you list it here, you get it down to the exact spec that you want it to go out, okay? So the key info. The call to action. So in this case, it was come along to our Christmas party, RSVP, but it might be sign up now, it might be give us your details, it might be click on this, whatever it is, okay? That's your CTA. Digital assets. So is there any artwork, any imagery that you want to share for the entirety of this campaign, okay? And this is going to all make sense in a minute when we take it into the channels. So the second thing to do is adjust, and this is where we apply the core elements of that campaign to all of our different channels. So a lot of us will only use a handful. So you might be putting stuff on Instagram, you might be doing a few posters, you might be doing this, you might be doing that. But what my message is today is get them all lined up, get your campaign set up, and then get the information adjusted and across all of these different channels. Within each channel, we have an action. So you might have email 1, email 2. You might have social post 1, social post 2, poster 1, poster high street 1. You know, all of the different places where this stuff's going. The reason being is we want to be able to track exactly what's working and exactly what isn't, so that we can make decisions, like we can test stuff and we can get rid of it quickly. Constantly fine-tuning, constantly evolving. This is what the big guys are doing. This is what Pure Gym, all of these big competitors that we've got no hope of reaching in terms of our budget, this is what they're doing really well. And thanks to technology and software, we can catch up with them now. We can do this, and we can track at this kind of scale. So if I put this into context with an example, in fact, I'm just going to talk you through the last bit about tracking. So when we're talking about tracking with things like affiliate links, so you can have coded sign-up links, you can have voucher codes. What Google and Facebook ads guys will use are pixels. There's so many different ways that you can track the effectiveness of things. And even in-person sales, like your class instructors or your in-club team, they can have their own affiliate links, they can have their own voucher codes, so we know exactly who's doing what. It uses a lot of the same logic as that, the smart name tags I mentioned earlier. So when we put it into action, you might get something like this, and it is slightly cut off, but essentially, like I say, this is the actual information for our birthday promo. Our birthday promo at a campaign level is to celebrate the Fit Club's 6th birthday. We've got this campaign. It's 50% off your first month. No joining fee. Best offer we've ever done. Makes it cheaper than Pure Gym, which is one of our big competitors. And the information that we've got up there is imagery revolving around changes and improvements we've made to the club over the last 6 years. It's all in there, okay? This stuff trickles down to the different channels. I've included information in here rather than the actual stuff that we've done. But so we apply it to each of the different channels with actions and then information about how we can track it. And like I say, this is 15 channels on screen. We're doing 29, and we're doing that for 2 campaigns a month. So that's the kind of workload, and we've got one guy on that, and he's managing to keep up with it. So if you do try this, that's something to think about. It sounds like a lot, but when you do use shortcuts like setting that information at a top level, using ChatGPT to rewrite things for you, and then applying it to all of these different channels, then it is possible. And then with the advent of voucher codes, of affiliate links, then the whole thing tracks, and it actually becomes pretty sensible. Yeah, and like I say, the whole thing here is that we're ruling out marketing as the reason why things don't work, which for us at the Fit Club was never the case. We would launch stuff and we would have no idea what the reason was, but we're kind of ruling out marketing here and problem solving in that way. And then finally, that brings us back to the balanced scorecard. So, as I say, all of the things that I've just discussed feed back into this. This is our hub. This is where decisions are made. This is where we test things. This is where we problem solve, and it all works as a constant cycle. And this is the kind of order and the kind of discipline that a lot of the top gyms that we're working with are doing now, and it's been developed in those clubs, and we highly recommend that. One other thing I wanted to show you was this. So if the balanced scorecard is a model for looking at what needs to change and testing things, the theory of innovation diffusion is something that we can use to figure out how we should launch things and how we can make our launches of new innovations successful. It builds on a lot of what we just talked about with the multi-channel marketing strategy, but essentially this theory provides an explanation for how every new product, new idea, new innovation diffuses through society. So any new idea, any new product will always diffuse through society in this way. The only differentiator is time, right? So if we take the example of the internet or AI, very quickly they've moved through this entire bell curve. However, if we take solar panels are probably, not even in the early majority stage really. They're not that widely adopted, and over time we'll see whether they can make it any further through. The kicker here is that you can only achieve mass market success with something if you cross this chasm, okay? So you'll always have people that will take on something, that will try something, and these are your early adopters and your innovators. So these are the guys in your gym who anything you put out, they're like, oh yeah, I'll try that. You know, they're the first guys at the door. I remember when we launched merchandise for the first time at the Fit Club, probably about 5 years ago, we had all of it set up. We had the hat, we had the t-shirts, the hoodies, got it printed at a local company, and it was fairly crap, to be honest with you, but there was one guy that just bought everything. He had the hoodie, the shirt, and the hat, and all of that stuff. And he was an innovator. He didn't care about what other people thought about him. He was willing to part with his cash because he believed in what we were doing. He believed that because it said the Fit Club, it must be good, you know? And I still see this guy wearing the stuff. And by now it says, "It's Clue," or something like that. You know, it's all peeled apart. But the point is that you have these people in your clubs, and they're extremely valuable because you can use them to formulate decisions and push innovations further up this curve. Separating yourselves from mass market success is this chasm. So this is the graveyard of lost products. Unfortunately, Fit Club merchandise is languishing in the chasm these days, you know. But other things aren't, and to get to these other stages, to mass market success, we have to hit the early and the late majority. And these are made up of people who they want to try before they'd buy. They're very risk averse. These are the guys that come to your front desk. They ask if they can have a free pass. They ask if they can have their money back if they don't like it, or maybe they do ask for their money back. These are those people, okay? But we can't achieve mass market success without hitting the majority. And a big cheat code for doing so is using the innovators and the early adopters to get information about your offering, to develop it, and to move through this curve. Bringing it up the rear are the laggards. We're all laggards for something, but these are generally people who will only make a purchase decision if they absolutely have to. So these are the people who are still rocking the Nokia 3310, you know, maybe don't have an air fryer, although there's a few people in this room I know don't have an air fryer. But yeah, that's the kind of thing we're talking about. But what influences this? So 4 things influence the speed at which things move through the bell curve. Firstly, the innovation itself. So the product, the new idea, the extent to which people can try before they buy. So the trialability, that's a big one. And then the perceived quality of the product or innovation. Communication channels. So these are the ways that that people hear about the innovation. So it's, like I just mentioned to you, a big way that you can kind of rule this out as the reason something doesn't work is if you hit all of the channels and you track exactly what's working and what isn't. Time, so either are we leaving enough time for something to work? Are we rushing it and not leaving enough time, or you know, perhaps are we leaving too much time and we're just kind of wasting our time and money by kind of carrying something on when it's not working? It needs to live in the chasm. And then the social system. So this is the most powerful thing, and it kind of goes back to culture I was talking about earlier, is if we can have a community that really believe in what we're doing, and essentially selling for us, that organic growth, and this is where influencer marketing kind of comes from, organically talking about what we're doing and our innovations, then that is hugely powerful, but of course very difficult to instigate and to control. So, another Fit Club example. So we launched Reformer about a year ago. We took out our ladies' changing rooms. We put it elsewhere. We didn't take it out completely. We took out the ladies' changing rooms, moved that, and we built this big Reformer studio. Really nice spec, nice equipment. And we had a big waiting list. We had 300 people on the wait list. It was looking like it was going to be great, okay? When we did launch it, when it came to the purchase decision, tumbleweeds. Okay, we had the little handful of early adopters and innovators. They came on board and they signed up. Of course they did. But we weren't successful. It was losing money. What we hadn't taken into account is that this was an expensive thing compared to what we usually offered, right? So the innovation itself was completely different to anything we'd ever done, coupled with the fact that our communication was pretty poor, okay? So it came to the purchase decision, and that was the first time we actually told our community that it was going to be an extra cost. They were used to everything being free, included in the price, but this was now, you know, a more than triple jump to get this new service. So it didn't work initially, but it did turn around, and today it's doing very well. And the reason for that is we reviewed it. We reviewed it with these guys, the early adopters, the innovators. We got as much information from them as we could. We did it a little bit late. We lost money for a while, but we went back in and we got information from these guys. we found out that the class format wasn't right. Okay, one of the classes was not the right format. They wanted classic reformer. They didn't want this new hit style workout, which is successful elsewhere, but our community didn't want it. The studio itself was not fit for purpose, even though it looked great. There was too much noise coming from the other studio. So this relaxing classic reformer class was being interrupted by body pump at 5:30, going off. So it didn't work. But then, so with that feedback, we were able to change the other things. We soundproofed the other studio, we changed the format, replaced a few instructors, and things started to look up. The thing that really turned things around is where we increased the trialability of it, okay? So we brought in a 50% off trial, which we're still running today, 50% off your first month on a DD, and then it goes back up to the full price in the second month. And the impact was massive. People could try this thing that we now know is good quality, and once they knew that this purchase decision was less risky than they thought, there's also a load of innovators, early adopters there that love it. We saw a lot of success and people carrying on onto the full price, which we now have, and it's making money, which is exactly what we want. And then another example. So digital wallet passes. So this is an example of an innovation that went absolutely bang on perfectly. Couldn't have gone better. Okay, so digital wallet passes, for those of you who don't know, it uses the same technology as your phone, as your credit card, and it's a membership card that sits on your phone. Simple as that, okay? You tap it on the turnstile, it lets you in. As an innovation, that's pretty easy to understand. I think I explained that pretty well, and it was, 10 seconds, right? So for our community, it was extremely easy to understand as well. When the innovation was launched, people got it, people understood what it meant. We were worried because we had fingerprints, we'd had them for several years, and we were thinking this might be difficult for people to grasp or whatever, but it wasn't. We wanted to bring in this technology because it saves time for us on the front desk. Enrollment takes time, fingerprints are great, but yeah, it's that enrollment time that we wanted to avoid. So we brought it in. So 45-day plan we had to kind of convert things. And we didn't need the whole 45 days. So we did an email before the launch was meant to happen, just warning people. We launched it, told them about it. We had an over 50% uptake rate straight away. And within the 45 days, we were actually removing fingerprints because it worked so well. So the innovation was easy to understand, but the other thing that really made this a success was the strategy that we had for the communication. So we remarketed to everyone that hadn't yet downloaded the pass. We remarketed the fact that this was now out, and that helped people know about it. It was already easy to understand. It was already good. There was no barrier to entry, and we had a lot of people take it on. And within the 45 days, the whole gym was switched over, which was unbelievable. So a couple of examples for you there about different innovations, and hopefully that gives you something that maybe you'll be able to think of when you launch new things in your club, and how that impacts the way that they're taken on. Okay, guys, that is all of my speech, and I just wanted to leave you with something. So there's a hell of a lot to unpack there. There's a lot of tools that hopefully you can use in your club. But the key thing is to make decisions. The message for today is to test things quickly and change, to adjust, to constantly evolve, and to do things based on data, but also make decisions based on your own understanding of the local market and of your business, because the big guys that we work with, they're all doing it, and they're doing very well. The industry is in a great place, and there's plenty of it to go around. So yeah, I wish you all the best, and I'm going to leave you with this. Some mistakes will be made along the way. That's good, because at least some decisions are being made along the way. And he did all right, so yeah. Cheers.